Hello and welcome to this another episode of The New Journey, a show that inspires and empowers new Canadians and immigrants through conversations, stories, and insights. Today, I have the wonderful honor to be with Iman, who is our guest on this show, and we will be discussing all about his journey, his successes, his challenges, and advice for newcomers and new entrepreneurs as well. Thanks for joining us, Iman. How are you?
I'm doing great, Gurvinder. Thank you very much for having me here.
For those who don't know about Iman, he is a serial entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and he has amazing successes under his belt as well. So to begin this conversation, Iman, could you please tell us about yourself for the audience who is not aware of what the work you do in the industry and in our communities?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started with the company called Success Road Academy. And that's a company that I started because I wanted to work with people on, on helping them to build a successful business and all of those things, which is kind of like a follow-up to what I used to do back before my immigration. I used to be a marketing consultant, and I always worked with people on building their business. Now, there is a kind of a place there. There was a company that I call it the stepping stone when I moved to Canada because I didn't start with Success Road Academy. I started with a company called Success Road Enterprises, which doesn't exist anymore. But that was a web design company. And we're going to talk about that a little bit maybe later in the day because
for sure.
It's just a matter of stepping stones is very important for immigrants. With the Success Road Academy, I teach people how to build a successful business for themselves. That's what we started with. And then over the years, as my company started expanding, I started switching more toward online course creation because that's what I was kind of more doing for myself. So I started doing more online course creation, and then we focused only on online course creation. So in Success Road Academy, we teach people how to create and sell online courses today. That's not where we began, but that's what we do today. But then over the years, as Success Road Academy became more successful, I started investing in other companies. So I bought in another company called JV Insider Circle. And that's a network of experts who want to do joint venture partnership with each other and refer clients to each other. And recently I invested in another technology company called Actionera, which is actually the shirt I'm wearing. And Actionera is a platform for content creators to be able to share their content and knowledge. But as I continued, my work with entrepreneurs and everything else, I realized I can't just be alone and just kind of like build all these companies. So I joined an investment network called eFund and another one called What If. And within the investment network, we also invest in other companies. And there's a network of 150 investors that we get together. And we do angel investments, and we have investments in about 120 companies, anywhere from agriculture to farming to technology, medical, and so many other things. It's just 120 companies. There's a lot of different type of companies that we have investment in as part of the investment pool.
Awesome. That's a great journey there. So this is all on the outline. I'm sure things were not always, this beautiful and this rosy. Did you had any initial challenges when you migrated to Canada? What was your initial days?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, when we landed in Canada, so my ex-wife and I immigrated to Canada in 2008, 2009. She landed here in 2008. I came in 2009. And we were hoping that our money follow us, and it didn't. Yeah. And so we had $12,000 in our pocket. I couldn't speak English at all. Not at all, but like you would ask me, how's it going? I would be like, I'm not going anywhere. What are you talking about, right? So I had very limited knowledge of English, and then we were hoping that our money comes here and we use that money to buy some time to learn English and build some community and everything. And that didn't happen. and my wife was studying full time at UBC and BCIT. So she couldn't work because she was working full time and studying a really hard course. And anyways, we got to the point that we were 17 days away from becoming homeless, and we were applying for every job under the sun that possible. But 2009 was right after 2008 recession, so there were hundreds of thousands of people out of work. No companies were hiring. Like, I applied for Walmart to be a cleaner, and they didn't even look at my resume. Right? They're like, "Well, we're not hiring at all." I mean, like, the situation was really, really bad. At the time, many people could not find jobs, especially people who didn't have any connections or network or couldn't speak the language like me. And that was the point that I said, if you don't give it to me, I'll build it myself. If you don't give me a job, I'll build my job myself. But the knowledge I had was the knowledge of marketing, except that nobody wanted to hire me for my marketing knowledge, because anytime I wanted to talk to someone, everybody would say, "Well, you don't have any Canadian experience, you know nothing," right? And I'm like, damn it, like, I know so much about marketing, and yet nobody is willing to hire me because I don't have this Canadian experience thing.
Yeah.
So when we got to the point that, it was like the point that whether we're going to make money in the next 17 days or we're going to live on East Hastings in Vancouver on the streets, I said, I don't have anything else to lose anyways. And I decided to start my own company. But I knew at the time, nobody's going to hire me as a marketing consultant. And I said, the fastest thing that people hire is a web designer. And a web designer will be able to provide marketing consulting services.
Yeah.
So the stepping stone, that's the thing. Like, sometimes what you do is not what you know necessarily, but it's a stepping stone toward it, right? And 3 days later, I found my first customer who paid me $1,800. And that person paid the rent of the month and food for us, like literally bought us food and rent, right? With that $1,800. But here is the secret, that I didn't know how to design a website. I knew how to do marketing, but like, here's the sample of it. In 3 days, I found my first customer. But then I didn't know how to design a website. So 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., I used to sit in 550 Broad Street in Vancouver and meet people one-on-one and try to sell websites. And then from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., I would go to networking groups and the meetup groups, trying to book appointments for the next day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to sit with people. And then at 9 p.m., I would come home, and then from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I would go to different blogs and websites and YouTube and everything to learn web design. So that's how I built my first company. I practically worked from 7 a.m., like woke up at 7 a.m., went back to bed like 3 a.m. to be able to finally build this company, and we were able to successfully build that to 6 figures, and finally, be able to succeed as an entrepreneur in that term. But then at the time, as the time passed, I got more and more and more experience with showing that I know how to do marketing and gave marketing consulting in terms of as a web designer, right? And I created all these samples of success stories as a marketer. And then at one point, I did not need to do web design anymore because I had all these samples of jobs. And then I got more focused on becoming a marketing consultant and educator. And that bought me a couple of years. That allowed me to go to Toastmasters and learn English and get on the stage and get comfortable with public speaking. I also started a group called Vancouver Business Network at the time, and this is the funny thing, because when I started Vancouver Business Network, I couldn't speak properly, and so I asked a friend of mine who I met in a business class in Vancouver. So there was this business class called Successful Consulting and Consultation that was funded by the government. And they didn't even want to let me in because they said, there's no hope for you to become an entrepreneur. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, you have no success stories, you have no case studies, you have no
Yeah.
experience or anything else, nobody's gonna hire you, right? But anyways, I had to
Yeah.
fight my way to get into that program. And
Wow.
anyways, I got to the program, and I got friends with a few people, and then one of the friends that I had from that class, when I started Vancouver Business Network, I called her and I said, "Hey, here's the thing. I can't run the group. I've started it, but
Yeah.
I can't run it. I'm going to
Yeah.
plan the meetups and the events, but I need you to become the MC because I can't say anything." And
Yeah.
and she kind of owed me a favor because I had designed her website. So
Yeah.
so she was like, "Well, sure, I'll do that for you." And that bought me 3 months. So I said, "I need only 3 months. For 3 months, you run the group for me, and after 3 months, I'll take over." So that gave me a
Okay.
deadline, right? So I started going to
Yeah.
Toastmasters and everything else, and led into me becoming the MC of my group and everything else. Now that group, which back then was called Vancouver Business Network, and I couldn't even run it on my own. Today it's called
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs International Network, and we are in 40 cities. And we have
Wow.
over 85,000 members. So the things that at one point like you do, and like people don't. I mean, like from that program, like successful consulting and contracting, that program. Well, we were 14 people in that program, and I know I still am in touch with 8 of them, and I'm the
Okay.
only person who has multiple seven-figure companies from that program. I was the person that they didn't want to let me in because they said that there's
Yeah.
no hope in me becoming an entrepreneur
Yeah.
and succeed. So what I'm saying is that believe in yourself and do the work. And yes, there are gonna be things that you have absolutely no idea. And you gotta build the skills, and you gotta learn, and you gotta do all of those things. But
Yeah.
over time, things grow to the level that I mean you wouldn't even imagine. I mean right now today that group that I started back then is the largest business network in Vancouver. It
Okay.
has like 17,000 or 18,000 members. I actually don't know exactly how many
Wow.
members it has, but it has like it's one of the biggest groups in Canada, and the largest one in Pacific Northwest. So including U.S. and
Wow.
Canada is one of the largest networks. It has 17,800 members. That right this second that you and I are speaking. So
Wow.
my point here is this: believe in yourself and go for it. And one of the biggest things that I would say for immigrants that is very important is, and everybody has a different story, everybody has different reasons, everybody comes here for different purposes. But
Hmm.
over the years, I've seen lots of ups and downs. I've seen lots of people who came here, stayed here for a couple of years, and went back. And
Yeah.
and in my experience, usually when people had one foot there and one foot here are the ones who
Yeah.
failed, the ones who
Hmm.
couldn't let go of their past life. And they're like, "Oh, I used to be a doctor there, and here I'm a cleaner." Sure. Well, when you come here, you're an 18-year-old if you can speak
Yeah.
English. So even if you're
Yeah.
65, you will still have the same social connections and the knowledge and all the things that is reliable in this kind. I mean, like you're
Yeah.
a doctor, right? But without the Canadian experience, you are not a doctor here, right? So
Yeah.
and there are two ways you can do this. You can be sorry for yourself, saying that I immigrated and but I used to be this person and I'm not. Or the other way
Hmm.
is saying that, well, I'm here and this is my new situation, and I'm gonna do everything for my new situation to become a great
Yeah.
situation. All of us had the reasons to immigrate, right? So there were things that you found here that were better potential for you. But you have to take action on these better potentials. If you don't take action on these better potentials, you won't end up really benefiting from them. So,
Yeah.
long story short, is that whole piece that you want to make sure that that you're going for it like 100%, and
Yeah.
don't have your one foot in, one foot out. Be 100%
Hmm.
here.
Go all
And,
in.
and when you do this, when you go all in, you start cracking the code to success for you, but new success for you, not the
Yeah.
past success. Like if I was back in Iran, where I originally came from, my success in Iran in 13 years wouldn't look like my success today in Canada. Would look different, right? Probably I
Yeah.
would become a successful person because I'm a hardworking
Hmm.
person, like many immigrants. Like we who are here in Canada, like majority of us came because we were hardworking, because we had successes. Canada hand selected us to come here. The
Yeah.
majority of us, right? The majority of us were hand selected by the government to say, yes, you should come. But what they had selected is not your degree, although it looks like it was degree. What they had selected was your hard work, was your perseverance, or the fact that you could actually do all the work and all those things. So I, in million years, wouldn't see myself to become an investor, to have investment in 120
Yeah.
companies. Um, that
Hmm.
was not in my original vision. That was not in like what I thought it's going to be. However,
Yeah.
it ended up being that, you know, and
Yeah.
I created this new success because I went for the new success, and
Yeah.
defining that as opposed to sitting here and say I used to be that, so I want to become that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your new
No,
one
that's
might be much
exactly.
better than the previous one, but as long as you try to go
Yeah.
where you were,
Yeah.
where you went there because of that environment, the new one might be completely different. And
Exactly.
anyway, so that's my experience, and
Yeah.
it's
No, thanks for sharing that. And I think it's a very common theme that we have heard from other, speakers who have been on this series is, if you have the self belief, if you believe in yourself and you take the actions and not, take the luggage of, what you were in the back life, or in your original countries, you have a better chance at success than if you, take the baggage that, hey, I was doing this and I'm not able to do this right now. But at the same time, if you learn and unlearn, then you succeed basically in Canada.
exactly.
Awesome. No, thanks for sharing that. So, I mean, we talked about, the success. You talked about, your success here is different from what it would look like in Iran, for example. How do you define success for yourself? What does success mean to you in your current situation right now?
Well, success can actually take many different shapes or forms at different stages of your life, right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
in a way, I feel many people subconsciously define success based on freedom. So
Hmm.
the freedom of being able to have the income to do certain things, the freedom
Yeah.
to have the power to travel anytime you want, the freedom
Yeah.
to have the time to be able to spend it where you want, the freedom of
Yeah.
being able to say what you have in mind, the freedom of, right?
Hmm.
And yet necessarily doesn't necessarily mean like it's the same freedom or same level for everyone, right? Because sometimes
Yeah.
some people see themselves that they don't need a lot of money to feel successful, and it's not about money for them at all, right? Like for example, for myself,
Hmm.
I have a very inexpensive life. I don't spend a lot of money. I don't waste a lot of money. I don't go like I have a very modest life, and
Yeah.
or for most days, But
Yeah.
but also I have the freedom to be able to to do what I want at the time that I want if I wish, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like over the years, first it began with me with freedom of money, right? Financial freedom.
Okay.
There's like, hey, if I had
Yeah.
the money, then I could be successful. And then when I had the money, when I was able to pay for my stuff, one of my friends was saying that a meaning of financial success is not needing to look at the price tags when you're at the store, right? So when
Yeah.
you just pick
Yeah.
up whatever you want, right? So, which I mean, I don't think is necessarily the smartest thing always to do, but but it's a freedom,
Yeah.
right? It's a freedom.
Yeah.
But anyways, my assertion. Like, well, but when I got to the financial freedom, I realized no, actually, I want to have the freedom of location to be able where I want to be
Yeah.
at the time I want to be, and actually that's why we went to online courses because
Yes.
I used to travel to like our company expanded to be in Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Toronto. So I was traveling constantly between the four cities. And I realized I don't want to do that. I want to be wherever I want to be. And that's why I actually
Yeah.
went to online courses because I wanted to have financial freedom, right? And so location freedom. And then when I had the location freedom, then it became about the time freedom. Well, I didn't want to be the one who is always doing all the work, right? So I mean, at every given time, you have different things that you need to create success. Now,
Yeah.
for some people, it's having um, the freedom of sitting there and doing nothing.